Okay, hi guys. Let me give you a brief overview of what we will cover in week 1 from the technical standpoint. We will learn how to create shapes and lines. The line tool is right here, and you can create straight lines or you can create lines at an angle. If I hold the Shift key, I can create a line that is exactly vertical. Or I can create a line that is exactly horizontal. Or I can create a line that is at 45-degree angle. And as far as the shapes, we have quite a few options here. I'm gonna create a few shapes for this demo. And notice that you can also modify the shapes. So if I click on anywhere on the screen, I can select the properties of that shape. And in this case, I'm just gonna do a 4-ray star, something like that. You can move the objects with the arrow keys. I'm pressing down arrow to move it down. And you can also move the objects by dragging them on the screen. There are 2 tools that will allow you to move the objects. The 2 selection tools on the top. And of course, right now I'm trying to select it and it's not letting me because the object is empty. So that middle area of the object is empty when I click on it. It's not been selected. To fix that situation, all I need to do is press Default key, D key on the keyboard. Let's go ahead and select the object, press D, and notice now it's white. And I can select and deselect, and now I can select it and move it. So that's a quick tip here. And of course, I can also select the objects with the selection key. So either one of them will let you select it. If I want to change something about the object, I would have to use the direct selection tool. And that's really the main difference between them. If I want to change the proportions of the entire object, I can do so with the selection tool. So I can do something like that. The polygon tool is also very interesting in terms of the number of sides. So if I select 3 sides, it's gonna allow me to create a triangle. And I can also move the objects back and forth in their stack order. If I go to Arrange, Send to Back, notice it's now behind the line. And likewise, I can bring it back to front, Arrange, bring to front, and now it's in front of the line. All right, so and one more thing that we should know this week is how to scale and rotate the objects with respectfully scale and rotate tool, and how to reflect the objects. So let's go ahead and try to rotate one of them. There are 2 ways we can do that. We can of course use the selection tool to rotate the object, but that's not gonna give us a precise way of doing that. It might be okay in some cases, but to give more control, you can use the rotate tool. And that will allow you to preview the rotation and also to set up the exact angle. So let's say we want to do 45 degrees, we can do so. Well, that might be too much. So let's go ahead and click rotate one more time. And you can also drag that rotate tool. It may not be as helpful in this example because it feels like the freehand tool was a little more intuitive, but it's definitely very helpful in other cases. I'm just gonna cancel that and maybe use another example. Let's go ahead and give it -45. Something like that. And of course, if I want to scale the object, again, I have two ways of doing that. I can use my selection tool, which can be very helpful, or I can also do so with the scale tool. And with the scale, I can scale it uniformly by a certain percentage. Let's say I want to make it 50% smaller, I can do that. Or I can scale it keeping the proportions of the width, for example, as they were, and changing the vertical proportions. So again, depends on what you're doing. You might find one more helpful than the other, but just know that there are options. And as we move forward, we will learn that scale tool can be very, very handy because you can select whether you scale, for example, the stroke, or you scale just the object and keep the stroke width the same. So those extra options will come handy. Another advantage of the scale tool is that it allows you to make a copy. So for example, if I want to keep the original but make a copy, I can do that by making a copy. All right, so that's a quick demo on the scale, and the reflect tool will let you easily flip the objects. So if I want to flip that line, I can use the reflect tool. And it can be very, very helpful when you work with the symmetrical objects. All right, so again, I could make a copy if I want to, and I will have two lines intersecting, and it's gonna look perfectly symmetrical. Alright, so let's review what we just learned. We learned how to create the shapes and lines. We learned how to change the stack order of the objects. We also learned how to set up the default colors to black and white. And the width of the stroke is 1 pixel wide. And we also learned how to rotate, reflect, and scale the objects. I will have an exercise coming up, and please follow through the instructions, and it will make it much easier for you to learn the tools I showed you.